Hello, am I audible? I think you guys can maybe hear me.
I can.
Yeah, now I can hear you. Okay. How are we this today? Oh, I think Meenakshi, you were talking with your microphone off. That's why I thought you could hear me and I cannot hear you. Yeah, now you just turned it on. Can you say something?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Should I mute now or unmute?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I can, like, it's not my headphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yeah, just giving other people a couple of minutes to join. So how did you guys last class? Did you guys get to see Shark Tank? Are we coming along? You have to turn your microphone on before you speak. Because I saw your hand go up and you say something that I don't know.
Yeah, I saw Shark Tank program for the first time.
So what did you think? What did you learn?
Yeah, I liked the program and I was thinking that I'll watch more pitches. I just saw it only for 10 minutes and there were few pitches which people were giving. So I enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, so most of these happen in closed rooms, right? So people will take their ideas and pitch to investors in a closed setting. Shark Tank is nice because it's actually broadcasted on television. You can find it on YouTube. So you can actually see how other people are pitching and what kind of feedback investors are giving. Hi, Dan. Hi, Anusha. Hi, Shreya. Hi, Shreyas. What are we?
What is the agenda for today, by the way?
So today we actually have a lot of topics to cover in terms of like how we do marketing. So, I mean, there's a whole section. So have you guys all received the book at this point?
I have the book.
Yeah. So it's like everything from like page 42-ish to, let's see, like everything from like page 40 to 80.
I never received the book.
You never received the book?
No.
Who is that? Anusha?
Yeah.
Okay, I will send another copy to you because should have by now. Can you confirm your address?
Yeah, it's 257.
Like you can email it to me. I mean, I won't.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so that's the agenda. Okay, I think we will get started because there's quite a few things, and then if as more people join. So the first thing I'll start with, I guess, is last time. Okay. This is silence. So we have talked a little bit about, like thinking about an idea, the needs of the customer, the product. But now let's also talk about like, how do you, so you need money to basically make a product. How much money do you need? When do you need it? So at this point, let's say you've come up with a team of people, you've come up with an idea, and you have to build that idea, you have to market that idea. So there are different types of investors who can basically put money into your project, right? So the first person who can put money into your project is yourself. You can basically decide like, hey, this is what I can do. The next people that can put money into your project are like friends and family, right? Like you might go to your parents, you might go to another family member, and that person might help you with something. But at some point, your project might need more money than what you or your family members might be able to put in. And so at that point, you might go and find some rich individuals that might have money. Let's say you go and find some millionaire and that person puts in money into your business or your idea. Another thing you can do is you can go, if you don't know any rich individuals, you could try to get funding using like a crowdfunding platform on like Kickstarter. So if you haven't seen Kickstarter, you should check it out. It's a platform where you can post videos and information about your project and try to raise funding. Let me actually share my screen. Sure. So, can you guys see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
So if you haven't seen Kickstarter, it basically looks something like you can go there and there's a lot of people who have posted their projects, whatever they're doing. And you can choose to fund people's projects. And you can also put up your own projects and ask to get funded. And the way it works is, let's say somebody made this game called Escape the Night board game. And you are into board games and you want to help them. So you would go and you would say back this project and give them money to help support their project of building this board. Now, what you do when you set up a project is you would say like, we have a goal of raising this much money. So for example, this project, they had a goal of raising $30,000 to make this board. And 4,800 people have actually given them $418,000. So they have actually completed their goal, and there's a number of days to complete your goal. So those people's credit cards will only be charged if the goal is met. That means you can actually continue with the project, like, because you have set a goal for how much you need to complete that project. So this is a board game example. So let me give an example. So when I was in high school, I had made a board game called Authority. And we had gone to the printers, and the printer printed one copy of the board game. And that one copy of the board game was something like $80 or $100. Like when you go to Kinko's and you might get a poster board printed, they might charge you something like $60 to $100 for a poster board. But if you look, like, you're all teens, I'm sure you played games. And I'm sure you guys don't go to the market and buy board games for like $100 or more. So like if you go to buy board games, you're like, oh, Monopoly is like $10 or $15. Or you might buy Risk, it might be like $30. Even the more expensive ones might be 40 or 50 bucks. But typically you don't go out and buy board games for like $100. So if your cost of producing a game was like $100, it wouldn't work. So who has an idea about how could you bring the cost down to something like $10 to sell? Like what would you have to do? Let's get some ideas. Shreyas, do you have any idea?
No.
Or who was
Use
that?
less material, I guess.
Use less material.
Less material or cheaper material.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one idea. Who else? Who's speaking first?
Oh, that was me. I was going to say the same thing, but and I have to think again.
Okay. Meenakshi, you have any ideas?
Maybe the more number of items. I mean, in bulk, if we make it in bulk, then the cost will reduce.
Yes, exactly. So even if you use like a cheaper material, your cost might still come from like 100 to maybe 80 or 60. But if you made it in scale, let's say you said you want to make 10,000 of them. And so you get a factory in China to produce 10,000 of these. So now your cost for each board would come down to $6. So when you produce only one, the cost might be $50 or $60. But when you produce 10,000, the cost for each one would be $6. And so then you might say, okay, I'm going to get the boards from China for $6. I'm going to get 20,000 dice because my game needs 2 dice for each board for $3,000 from India. So you're going to get the packaging maybe for another 10,000, 20,000. So if you decide that you're going to produce a certain quantity, like you're going to produce 10,000, then if you look at the cost for getting each piece and then assembling it, you might decide that the cost for the whole thing is like maybe $10 or $15 to get each board produced. But now you're producing 10,000. And so if you're producing 10,000 and each one costs you $10, let's say, what is the total cost of production? Who wants to answer? Anusha?
So if you have to outsource, right, to other countries,
Mm-hmm.
so like you were mentioning like China and India,
Mm-hmm.
wait, are you asking like whether it would drive the price down?
Well, I'm saying, well, we know it would drive the price down.
Yeah.
I'm asking, now that you've decided that you're going to make 10,000 of them and each one costs you $10. So what is the cost of production?
$100,000.
100,000, right?
Yeah.
So when you make a board game as a child, you might think, oh, you know, it's just a board game. But all of a sudden, you might realize that to make a board game viable to market and sell, you need to spend $100,000 in production.
Yeah.
Right? And then let's say that initially you thought I'll make the board game and sell to my friends, but now that you realize that you need to make 10,000 of them, do you have 10,000 friends to sell to? So you might not have 10,000 friends to sell to. And so now you have to say, well, now I have to do marketing to get, you know, more people to get to know about this game that I've created. And I need to do this marketing and sell this game so I need to sell 10,000 of them, right? Otherwise I'll be sitting on unsold inventory. So let's say that to sell each one, you're going to have to spend another $2, $3 on marketing for selling each copy. So that's another 30,000. So now let's say that you need $150,000 to make this board game project happen, right? So now you may not have friends or family who can give you the $150,000. And so that's where it comes in that you would need some kind of investment. Does it make sense so far?
Yeah.
And so So Kickstarter would be one example. An angel investor is basically a high net worth individual who might fund it. So that's another example. If you look in the book on page, let's see. Yeah, if you look around like page 109, 110, you'll see I've listed out different types of angel investors. So you guys can give it all the way through 113, 14. So you guys can read through those types, but I won't go through all the types. But for now, it's just enough to know angel investors are people with a lot of money who can basically give you funds for your project. So how do you go about finding an angel investor, right? So that might be a question that you might be thinking of. And so what you can do is you can go to Google and you can say angel networks. And then depending on where you are. And you will see these websites for different angel networks. You guys can see my screen. Okay. So you might see like Angel Investment Network in the USA, find angel groups and platforms, need angel investors. So you'll find different, lots of angel investment groups. And what you will be doing is you will be putting together your pitch and plan like we'll do in this class. Is the screen sideways or it's in the correct orientation for you guys?
Your screen is in the correct orientation, I guess.
Okay. So you will find some platforms where you can find like connecting entrepreneurs with angel investors. And once you have figured out your team and your project plan and what you're doing and how much money you need and all those details, you can go to these angel networks, and then you can go to looking for investors or looking to invest if you're the person looking to invest. And you will see people trying to raise all kinds of money. So for example, what is the target? So this person's trying to raise $100,000 for some food, or this person's trying to raise 500,000 for a trading room, or this person's trying to raise 2 million for a biotech project. And similarly, you can put up your own projects. So this is, like you can go online and you can look for different angel investors, and you can say, what is the minimum you're willing to take per investor? So for example, if you're trying to get 500,000 from investors with a minimum of 25,000, maybe it might be 5, 10, 20 investors, depending on how much each investor wants. So this is one way. The next way is, if your project is bigger, let's say you need more, like something like this, right? Where you need 10 million. So this person says that their target is 10 million, but they're trying to get like 15,000 minimum per investor. So it looks to me like you would need a lot of investors putting in 15,000 to get to 10 million. And as we can see so far, they've only gotten 350K doing this. So when you try to raise significantly more, like in multiple millions, you might want to consider venture capital. And venture capital is like firms, so there are a lot of venture capital firms. And okay, let's see if we can get a list of some sort. So like Wikipedia has a list. So here you can see a list of like different venture capital firms. So the difference between angel investors and venture capital firms is that the venture capital firms are companies. And these are companies that get money from investors, and then they figure out which projects to invest in and invest. So angel investors were individuals investing, and venture capital is companies and firms investing. So Excel Partners is like the largest firm here in Silicon Valley. Most of these are here in the Valley, so you guys are kind of in luck. They're Menlo Park, Palo Alto, San Francisco, Mountain View, places like this. Benchmark Capital is here in Menlo Park. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of the companies start here in Silicon Valley, because all the venture capital firms are here. But there's firms everywhere. I mean, there's firms in Boston, India, China. There are firms like pretty much everywhere, Europe. So what you then do is you go to the website of one of the firms. Let's say you go to Excel Partners. And you can look for the team members in Excel Partners. You can explore their profiles. You can try to figure out who is the right contact for you in the company. Different people in the venture capital firm, you will see they have focus areas. So some people might focus on mobile apps, and some people might focus on collaboration apps, like this guy. Or let's look at someone else. Let's say this guy, Dinesh. So he focuses on AI, B2B security. So for example, with the security cameras project that I think Dan and the team members were thinking of, like this guy may be an interesting person to approach for you guys, because because his area of focus matches with your project, right? And then he would have other companies in the same focus area that he's helping fund, and you can look at which companies he's helping fund. So one's called and what they do. So like Untitled drives visibility, connectivity from the install base. So I won't look through the companies right now, but you guys get the idea. So first was, you fund it yourself, then was you fund it with friends, family, then it was angel investors, then it's venture capital firms. And then the last one is private equity firms. And private equity basically means existing large companies that might fund your project. So for example, Microsoft might fund your project, or Google might fund your project. And so these are private. So equity is basically like the shares or of a company that you're getting. And so these companies will basically fund your company's project with their equity or their shares. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about investors. Do you guys, is it clear how you might go about getting the money that you need for your project at this point? The way you would approach these people is you would send a short email saying like, what is your project? If they get interested, you might send them a longer one-page summary, set up a meeting or a call, and then go with your pitch, which will be a PowerPoint, and go in more detail about your project at that point with them. And then if they like it, you would create a deal with them. And so Shark Tank. So you guys saw it, and now my question is: are the investors in Shark Tank venture capitalists? Are they angel investors? Are they private equity? Or their friends and family? Which one is it? Let's call on Shaurya. Shaurya, you there?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Well, talk me through which ones, what you understood and what you didn't get. So friends and family, are the investors on Shark Tank your friends and family? Okay, let's pick on someone else. Let's pick on Daniel. Daniel, what do you think?
Yes.
Are the investors on Shark Tank friends, family, angel investors, venture capitalists, or private equity?
Well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to answer that because my Wi-Fi kept going down every couple of minutes. So it's like really hard for me to hear any of this.
I can answer.
But
Okay, go ahead.
it's stable right now, so I don't know. I'll just listen to somebody else's answer.
Who said who can answer? Shreya?
Oh, me, Anusha.
Anusha, go ahead.
Yeah. So venture capitalists, because they're providing a set amount of capital to these companies in exchange for an equity stake or a royalty. And that's like the definition of what a venture capitalist is.
Well, you're close, but so any of them, whether it's friends, family, whether it's angel investors, venture capitalists, or private equity, will take equity in return for money. Okay, so what you said is true for all of them.
Wait, there was something else that you said about like an equity. What were the options again? Venture capitalist, angel investor, friends and family, and there was another one.
Private equity.
Okay, so private equity is like,
So private equity is like companies like Microsoft or Google or a larger company investing their private equity into your company.
but I mean, okay, so I guess that it would be private equity then.
Well, are the investors in Shark Tank large companies?
Not really. That's the thing.
Right? So they're angel investors. So they're individuals with a lot of, right? So the 4 or 5 guys that sit on the panel of Shark Tank, they're angel investors. They're basically taking their own money, like Laura takes her own money or Mr. Wonderful takes his own money. And then they sit in a panel and they're deciding who to invest in, and then they just invest. So venture capital is companies that are basically investing other people's money, but they're investing as a company. So let's say if you start a venture capital firm. So the way that works is you get money from a bunch of other individuals and you pool it together and then you select projects to invest in. Is it clear for everyone or?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on. So we talked about the investor types. We talked about something about the product like a board game where why you need so much money because you need to scale, you need to build it up. And then we talked about you need it for marketing. Now, who knows the difference between marketing and sales? Anyone? Takers?
I guess marketing involves advertising and making the product appealing, and it also involves and sales is just a part of marketing that involves exchanging goods or services for money.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad definition. I mean, I don't think of sales as part of marketing. I think of it kind of as its own area. But I think almost of marketing as like a planning for sales and like how do you, so you might advertise, you might create the offering, and the sales is the actual transactions that you do. Sales is also like where you actually interact with the customer and call them up and sell them something. Whereas marketing can involve a lot of other things. So let's go over what do I mean by these other things in marketing. All right. Let's take a look at this. So I will skip around a little bit here. So, all right. So this is based, all right. So this is called DDART, right? And these are some of the marketing tools that I'll look at now. All right. So Dan, is your Wi-Fi having issues? So, all right. So there are basically 4 different things we're going to talk about, tools: diagnosis, decisions, analysis, and reality test. So when you basically want to make a marketing plan, what would you do? You would first come up with, data and understanding what the market looks like and who's your customer, what it's about. You would make certain decisions about how you're going to market and sell your things. You're going to do some analysis to support those decisions and decide things. And finally, you're going to do a reality test to make sure and check whether the decisions that you made are really viable in the market. So if you did a customer survey, for example, where does that customer survey fall? Is that a diagnosis, a decision, analysis, or reality test? You guys can shout out as you feel like. So it's a reality test, right? You're actually calling up the customers and testing if your idea is right. So let's start with TELC. So that's a diagnosis tool. And that basically stands for Technology Adoption Lifecycle. It's there somewhere in the book, but I'm not going to try to find the page right now. I'll just show you guys on screen here. So what this means is that for any business, so you can see this picture here. And any product as it comes into the market, once you create it, the initial people to use it are the people who create it and innovate. The next people are the early adopters. They might be your friends, family, other people who are visionaries for your product. And after this initial group of enthusiastic people for your project or product, you will find there's a big gap before really getting it out to more of the world. And this gap is typically hard to cross. And this is where a lot of your marketing money actually goes into making the jump from your initial people and your early adopters to your early majority. Once you get an early majority, you're kind of well on your way for your project to be successful. At this point, the world has started to use it, like it, and there are a lot of people promoting it out there and doing things. They're late majority because some people will wait for other people to actually come and try things. And then there are the skeptics who basically don't believe in the product until much later. So this is true for like anything you might see, whether it's, your product is Facebook or Instagram. So skeptics are the people who maybe still are not on Facebook, right? Because they're still like, hey, someday, or on Instagram. But I would say like most people have already adopted Facebook, Instagram tools like this, right? So these products are probably in the late majority phase at this point. Tesla is probably in the visionaries moving into the pragmatist, like early majority phase. So this is called Technology Adoption Lifecycle. It's a very popular tool in marketing to understand where a particular product is in the market. And this is a tool for diagnosis of your product in the marketing arena. So I'm sure you will see it in your life a lot more if you are in marketing or in marketing related fields, even otherwise. Let's move on to the next tool here, which is the SWOT analysis. Actually, I'll come back to the SWOT analysis. Let's talk about the whole product. So let me see. So this is okay. This is not a clear picture, so we will, let's say, find another picture by Google for it. So maybe this is a better idea. So for example, let's say that you made a television. And so let's say your generic product is this television. But you're trying to sell the television by itself. That may not be enough. You might want to sell cables. You might want to sell the training around how to set up the television and install it. You might want to sell the software related to the television, some standards, what's safe, what's not safe. Maybe you need to sell additional hardware with the television, like a table for it or supporting things. So let's do a quick example. Let's say that your product was a car. How could you, let's say you were a car sales. How could you, what are the things you can add to the car sales to make it a whole product? Let's call on Meenakshi. I don't hear you.
Car seat covers.
Okay, car seat covers.
And some other
let's call
accessories
on
like
Shreyas. There. Okay, I don't hear Shreyas. Let's call on Anusha. Hello? You guys need to turn your microphones on to talk.
I can't hear anyone. Can you guys?
Yeah, I don't hear anyone either. I was asking a question, like if you guys are on a car sales generic product, what things would help make the product a whole product? What are the things you would sell with it?
Wait.
Maybe
Sorry,
like spare
my
parts.
internet is the screen is freezing. That's why.
Yeah, I'm using data right now. The internet in my area is really bad
Yeah, I'm on my
today.
phone and using my data too.
Okay.
Wait, so car sales for the whole product model? I can see the screen moving. It's just I can't hear people talking.
Okay, don't worry about the screen. Just answer the question.
What would you sell along with?
So let's say you're a company selling cars. So if you're selling cars, what are the other things you need to sell with the car to make it complete?
You can sell warranty, car insurance.
You can sell a warranty, yes.
Or yeah, warranty, not car insurance. Um, replacement tires or anything like that.
You could sell replacement tires. You can sell insurance.
Yeah, anything.
Okay,
Installation.
so that's what it means by whole product, right? So let's say that if I'm teaching the class, I might say, okay, you know what? Along with the class, I'm going to have a book. I'm going to have, a T-shirt. I'm going to have a certificate. So whatever the thing that you are basically creating, you also have to think about what are the extra things around the thing that you are creating. So you don't just go and like create your product and sell just the product. You should also think about what are the things that have to go along with the product to complete your marketing and your whole product. All right, so next tool, let's go back to all right, so next thing, let's talk about what's the next one here? All right, positioning. All right, I don't know how we're gonna do SWOT analysis if you guys are on your phones and not on a computer. All right, let's talk about this. So, do you see this graph of quality versus price?
Yeah.
Now, let's say that the price is increasing in this direction and the quality is increasing in this direction. So this area here is high quality, high price, right? Quality and price. So what things would you guys say are in this high quality, high price area? What are some products here?
Maybe
Anyone?
like an iPhone. Oh.
Yeah, an iPhone, yeah. So iPhone is expensive and iPhone is a good quality product.
I'd probably say something like high-end gaming PC.
Gaming PC, okay. So, all right. So we got some examples of this. What would you say should go under low price but high quality?
Supreme jacket. I don't know. Something like that. Oh, low price, high quality. Oh, no, other way around for that one. But
Food.
Food?
Food items, yes.
Food, okay. What else? Water?
Yes.
Some basic clothing at least.
Socks.
Socks. Okay. What about trial products? When you get trial versions of things, they're like literally free because you're trying them out, but the quality of the product may actually be good. So in the high quality, high price side, you have like brands. Like Apple and iPhone is like branded stuff. Gaming PCs may be branded. So like a lot of expensive brands may have like good quality, good price, and they're expensive and high quality. Trial products, subsidized need products, government products like food, water. These things can have lower price but still be of high quality. What about high price, low quality?
Supreme shirts, I guess, or Gucci handbags.
Handbags, yeah.
Gucci handbags, to be precise.
Just
Gucci
overpriced
handbags.
things in general.
Yeah, so, all right, let me ask a different question. Where are most of these overpriced things sold?
In malls?
In malls, okay.
Places where rich people go to shop.
Places where rich people go to shop. What about places
Online.
where people, okay, yeah, online. Well, online, really? Do you think people don't do searches online to find like low price, better stuff, quality stuff? Do you really think people are paying high prices for low quality stuff online?
I mean, if they're too lazy to get off their couches and go to the mall, then maybe.
Or
No,
maybe
you
if they're
can,
too
like,
lazy
look
to
up-
search. Like if they're too lazy to search and compare things, they just go and buy something. What about where people travel? Like, let's say you go to travel somewhere and then you think something is high quality and high price and you buy it, but you come back and it breaks very soon. And then since you were traveling, you can't really go back to that city to return. Right? So when you're traveling like to New York City or to places where like, San Francisco, where traveling is a big thing, you may want to be careful what you buy there, because if you spend a lot, you might come home and decide it's not actually the quality, but you can't go back. Or street vendors. Low price, low quality.
Chinese stuff.
Chinese stuff. Okay.
The Wish app.
The Wish app, yeah. Okay.
Wait,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, right? That app.
I know. Yeah, I've purchased stuff from the app. It depends on what you get. Lucky sometimes, and sometimes you don't.
In general, though, no.
It's cheap Chinese goods, right? That just come from like random people in China. So those same things that you find on Wish for cheap, if you went to China, you might find it in the street for a high price and then come back and figure it's wasn't right.
Dollar
Right.
store.
Dollar store, yeah. Okay. So why am I talking about this? So when you basically build a product, you need to think about where you're selling it and how you're selling it, because that's going to help you decide how to price it. And you have to think about the quality of what you have produced, right? So if you have produced something that has a low quality and you want to sell it for a high price, you might want to consider that online or that traveler's market. But if you have produced something high quality and high price, you might want to consider how well you brand it and how well you market it. And you might want to really focus on developing a good brand for it. If you are basically giving trial, you may want to think about like whether people are going to abuse your trial, for example, and how much trial you need to give before you can move them, or do you have a different model for how you will monetize it? So that was one thing. Let's clear this. The next thing, so now that we're talking about pricing, let's talk about something called a price thermometer. So what we do is we make like a thermometer, and on one side we put the supply, and on the other side we put the demand. And then what we do is we say, okay, so on the demand side, what are the things you can think about that impact the price for the customer? So how much he wants it. What else? What would you say? What would you guys say the customer thinks about?
How many of them want it?
Okay, how many he wants?
The quality.
The quality.
First impressions in general, I guess.
First impressions. So these are things on the demand. So let's talk about the supply side. What does the seller think about? How would he price it? His cost, right?
Shortages and surplus.
Shortages, surplus. Okay. How much he thinks the customer values it? Okay, so now if he thinks that his cost is higher than how much the customer will value it, should he even bother with making this product and selling it?
No.
Okay, so his cost better be lower than how much the customer values it, right? So if on the thermometer he figures that the customer will value it for, let's say, $100, and his cost is, let's say, $25. Okay, so this defines the range in which he can price his item. He can make it $50, he can make it $75, he can make it $100. Right? If he tries to make it more than 100, he thinks the customer won't buy it because it's not something customer will value for. And if he tries to price it below 25, then he's not getting what his cost is. So now let's say that the customer, so we're talking about one here, right? So we're ignoring how many he wants, because this number might change. Like if the how many he wants is 100, then this cost might be 2,500 and the value might be 50,000 or something. So we're ignoring how many he wants. But let's say that the customer is willing to pay, let's say the customer is willing to pay 200. So the seller doesn't know it. He thinks he will, customer will only pay 100, but the actual customer is willing to pay 200. So let's put that up here. And there can actually be, some people will let's say that if he prices it at, If it's less than 30, customer might think it's fake. So let's say if he puts it at 20, his cost is 25, and if he tries to sell it at 25, it may even be the case that customer thinks it's fake if it's less than 30. And the customer thinks it will be a good product if it's like higher. So if that's the case, then the seller better price it higher, like 100, right? But if the customer, let's say, is only willing to pay 75, have you guys seen people like some people will think a product is bad if it's cheap? Have you seen such people?
Yeah, I guess.
So there's that case. There's also, so if you put numbers on both sides for different things, so this pricing thermometer will help you figure out what is the right way to price your product. So if, let's say, the customer will value it at 75 max, and you think it should be 100, but then you might find that if you price it at $80 or $90, you might find nobody buys it. But as soon as you bring the price down to 75 or 50 or anything in between 30 and 75, you might find everybody tries to buy your product. So this is the an important thing to do when you're trying to price your product. You need to figure out how much your cost is, how much is your value, any other things you care about. If you have a shortage or a surplus, you may decide to lower or increase. Like if you have a surplus, you may lower the cost. If you have a shortage, you may higher the cost. But it's going to stay between this range. And if you can, using data from the customers, figure out where the demand side might be, you might figure you better keep it between 30 and 75, or you better you can keep it at your max of 100, so on. So this is a pricing thermometer. Let's move on. Market segmentation, Riddhi talked about it a little bit last time in the pitching, right? Like let's say that your product is a car. So you can segment it into different markets, like what kind of cars do teens buy, and what kind of cars do older people buy? What kind of cars do Mexican people buy? What kind of cars do white people buy? What kind of cars do Indian people buy? What kind of cars do people with a good job buy? What kind of cars do people who in business buy, right? So market segmentation is kind of digging into different types of people buying your product in a different color, different shape, different variety. In what kind of languages may be involved, so things like that. So you have to segment your market for the product that you have. And your marketing may be different for each segment. So like the reasons why somebody in that particular segment buys may be different. So for example, let's say the product was Facebook. So why parents use Facebook may be different from why college students use Facebook, right? Parents may use Facebook because they want to track their kids. College students may use Facebook because they want to talk to each other about their homework. And so breaking down your product into which segments buy it and why they buy it is important to figure out. What kind of marketing messages you're going to put there for them to buy or not buy. Economic analysis is more like the analysis of what's going on in the world. Like let's say the market for cars is going up or down. Let's say economic analysis would include like, oh, people are shifting from fuel to electric. And so if you're running a car company, you may want to focus on like what's the next electric cars or how we're going to go about what's the market for those. Partner matrix is basically like who are your partner companies or team people who are helping you in different ways. Market map is how these partners and segments are basically all going to break apart into. So market map is basically like you build a big map of where things are placed. So for example, this is a market map for education. And so there's all these different companies in education, and some companies focus on taking payments for education. Some companies might focus on providing the knowledge and tutorials for education. Some companies are focused on providing certification for education. Some are like peer-to-peer and helping connect people to learn together. Some may be marketplaces to connect teachers with students. So knowing your market map is important to kind of understand how your competition is positioned versus where you're positioned, and where you want to focus your efforts. And this doing a market map can also tell you, like if you're looking at this one here, you might figure a lot of people are already in the certification and learning area. And a lot of people are in the marketplace area, but not so many people in the knowledge providing. So you may want to go into an area where there's fewer people in the market. Because let's say you're the knowledge provider and you provide knowledge for both the marketplaces and the certification companies. So this is known as blue sea versus red sea. So blue sea, red sea. So this blue sea, red sea, basically what it means is red ocean is where all the sharks are competing for the same fishes. And blue sea is where you're the only shark, and all the fishes are for you to eat. So that's what that blue and red sea. So you want to avoid the red seas and you want to go in the blue seas and find your own market, your own area where you can, all the customers are coming to you. So that's something that this market mapping can help you. All right. For SWOT analysis, let's go to. So there are different tools that can help you with SWOT analysis. I liked this one, Canva. So if you go to Canva and you go to create a design, and then you search for SWOT analysis. So first of all, what is a SWOT analysis? What does SWOT stand for? SWOT stands for strengths. So there are basically 4 sections, SWOT. S is strengths, W is weaknesses, O is opportunities, and T is threats. And let's do an example together, perhaps. So what's a business somebody wants to think about the SWOT for? Pick something.
Let's say electric cars.
Electric versus fuel cars. All right. So let's say for electric cars, what are the strengths of an electric car versus a fuel car?
0 greenhouse gas emissions and more efficient.
So, okay, I'm not sure how to type in. So 0 emission.
Yeah, zero emissions.
And
Probably fewer moving parts,
fewer moving parts. Okay.
less complex to design and manufacture. So
Less complex to design and manufacture. Okay. All right, let's keep it to these three. Let's go to weaknesses. What are the weaknesses of electric cars versus fuel cars?
range, limited batteries.
Range and battery limitations.
Is it that like you have to recharge every time? Is that the same thing? Well, yeah. Okay, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, so charging takes longer than fueling.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even a fuel car, you have to fuel it, but charging takes longer than fueling. Okay. What are the opportunities for an electric car versus a fuel car? So electric is the future.
Automation,
What do you mean by automation?
self-driving cars. They're a lot easier to do with electric rather than gasoline cars.
Okay, so self-driving is easier. Cloud-based software updates are easier. Okay, so these can be opportunities for electric. What are the threats to electric cars?
Fuel cell-based cars.
Fuel cell-based cars are a threat. Okay, yeah. What else is a threat?
A lack of practicality. Like right now, they don't go as far as some gasoline-based cars go.
But that's a weakness, right? That's not a threat.
Oh, okay.
So like we said, range
Oh,
limitations.
right. Okay, yeah. Makes sense.
So like, is it clear the difference between weaknesses and threats, right? So weaknesses are like what it cannot do versus the other guy right now. And threat is what could kill this going forward and what might not work out for it. So weaknesses can be overcome just by like, technical improvements eventually, like the range limitations. But the threat may be like something that might actually kill the business. And opportunities are like things that you could do and, the opportunity to go out and do those things and improve. Whereas the strengths are like why it's better now. Okay, so you guys get the idea for a SWOT analysis. So one of the things you can do is when you're putting together your investor pitch for your idea, for the marketing section, is to actually do a SWOT analysis for the project that you're doing. Compare it to the, do the weaknesses and threats relative to some other similar business. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? And then take a screenshot of the slide and put it on a PowerPoint slide when you're building the pitch. Right, so that way you'll have a SWOT analysis to kind of help compare your product with other products in the market for why it's better, worse, what are your opportunities, how will you think about and tackle the threats too. Okay. So that's good. So we talked about blue ocean, red ocean, we talked about SWOT analysis, we talked about market map. Okay, let's see here. Okay. I think they only didn't really talk about the 6 M's. Okay, this is something else. All right. So when we're talking about marketing, we have to consider the advertising, the pricing, the customers, the market, all these kind of things, right? So we're basically going to be considering how are we going to get this product out there. And so another thing is, so for example, when I was trying to market Acme Entrepreneur, right? So what are the things to think about in terms of the advertising side? Where might you advertise? So you might advertise on radio, you might advertise on television, you can advertise through websites, Twitter, Google Hangouts, word of mouth, parents, schools, newspaper releases, Google Ads, different mobile ad companies, iAd, AdMob, Flurry, Tapjoy. You could advertise through Groupons, flyers. So these are all these different things, these are called channels. So a lot of people, when they think of marketing, they're just thinking about the channels for marketing. And meetups, you know, you could advertise through temples or churches, grocery stores. There's all kinds of places where you can advertise, right? YouTube videos, Eventbrite, Facebook ticketing. So if you set up an event, so we talked about marketing versus advertising versus sales. So what we were just discussing with the tools, that's like marketing, like the planning, the whole product, the economic analysis. And we'll go over sales in a minute. Let's talk about, you know, what is a marketing funnel? So marketing funnel is basically where you have identified who are your customers, and now you're advertising to them. But then at each step, you're kind of taking one step at a time towards the product you're selling. And so, let me see if I can find a good picture. So this is an example of a funnel, right? So you might want to do something to raise brand awareness first. And so this can be like, you know, when Coca-Cola goes out and puts like an ad on a truck. So if you see an ad for a Coca-Cola on a truck, you're not really like right away going and buying Coca-Cola. It's just something in your subconscious somewhere, oh, I saw an ad for Coca-Cola. And they're doing this everywhere, right? You might go to a movie theater and you'll see an ad for Coke. You might be walking by and you'll see it on a truck, on a poster, on a vending machine, all kinds of places. And so this awareness of the brand kind of starts to build an interest. And then eventually you start to consider like, hey, maybe I can buy this thing, or maybe I'll have it. And that creates some intent. You might decide, and then you might actually purchase. So this is one funnel. It's kind of like you're going broad with the awareness and then slowly leading toward purchase. There's other types of funnels. So for example, this is another funnel. You try to acquire a lead, and then you call for call to action, and then you close the sale and you encourage people to return. So let me show, for example, what I mean by this. So let's say that I offer website development services like Objections, right? And I'm trying to find new clients for my website development services. So I need to acquire new leads for these website development potential clients. So what can I do? I might create Facebook ads, I might create Google ads, I might send email marketing campaigns, trying to suggest to people that, hey, you know, I exist and I will help you create your website. And so a lot of people might click and try to see, okay, hey, I want a website. But now Meenakshi might say, hey, I want to only sell websites. I only want to deal with people, clients who are easy to deal with, who basically will just give me the requirements and I can create the website and they don't give me a big headache about it. And they are also willing to pay at least $5,000 to make a website. So I don't want to deal with people who are going to try to pay me like $20 and argue about, why do I have to pay to make a website? So this is the part where you have, she will try to, so she has all these leads who are people clicking on her ads, but she needs to filter them. So how might she do that? So she might create something like an appointment setting system. So let's say she has a website where people can go and look at her portfolio, try to say, hey, this is the person I want for the website. And she might have a thing to create like, set an appointment. And then somebody might say, okay, what do I want? I want to discuss project, and I will discuss it with, in my case, B. And let's say I have a set of available times, and I might say, okay, you set up a time on my calendar, fill in your information, and I might schedule a 15-minute or half an hour session with that particular potential client who saw a Facebook ad and decided to approach. And then based on that 15 or 30-minute session on the phone with that client, I would hear him out and then decide if I actually want to take his project or not. And so if I'm creating a funnel, this part where my lead acquisition and traffic will be the widest part. I might have 100,000 people who are clicking on my ads and trying to approach me. But this part will be smaller, where I might actually have a team of customer support people who are taking those appointments and calls and deciding if those websites, those clients are somebody we are willing to take up or not. And then these people basically are trained to decide in the deciding process, and they decide. And so out of the 100,000 people, we may actually only take 10,000 of those projects to actually do, right? Or if it's like 500 people approached, it may be we are only willing to take 50 of those people or 20 of those people to actually as clients. So closing the sale would then be a smaller part of that. So let's say we decided that 50 of these are potentially okay to make websites for, they're willing to pay, they're easy to deal with. So we try to give them an offer, we try to figure it out, and let's say out of these 50, only 20 close the sale, where these 20 actually become our clients. And then we build a website for them, so that's step 3. And then the last step would be, once we have built something for them, we can encourage them to return for another site, or we may encourage, have them as a recurring member to help them with continued fixing or so on. So this could be a potential funnel for a website development idea. So this is another way to look at it, right? So awareness and discovery, then giving them the quote and having the appointment, and finally the purchase and the loyalty. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is, what does the terms B2C and B2B mean? So B2B means business to consumer, and B2B means business to business, or sometimes also called enterprise sales. So business to consumer for the website business, for example, would be to get individuals who are clients for websites. Business to business would be where companies or enterprises are the clients who want the website. So a lot of times when you're building something, like Instagram is business to consumer. Individual people are using Instagram. But there's, let's say Verizon is a business and you build a product for use of telephone companies. So this product that you build for telephone companies as the customer, so these telephone companies are businesses and you are a business selling to other businesses. So those are business to business. So you can have like business to these enterprises, and you can have business to consumers. So when you're building a product, you should think about which is it. Like, are you building for consumers or business? Because how you do marketing will change, right? Like business to consumer, you just kind of go online and advertise like everywhere. Business to business, you can do more like identifying who within the business you should approach. So that will be something for marketing funnel. The next thing I'll talk about is, if you guys are like lost or confused or anything you want me to explain further, just like say it, otherwise I'll keep talking. So when you're building these funnels, so imagine that, let's say we go to a Facebook ad. So I'm sure if I go to Facebook, there'll be some ads somewhere. So we can see some advertisements here. Or let's find a sponsored ad. Okay, so here's a sponsored ad. So we see this advertisement. So looking at this advertisement, this is called an impression. So I'm being impressed by this ad. So this is an impression. Now this impression can be converted to a click if I click this ad. So let's click it. So I click it. So first I had impression, then I have a click. Now the next thing is, once I click it, it's asking me to take some action. And so the action is to fill out this form. So this ad is trying to sell me Oracle NetSuite, and it's telling me to download a free guide. So one of the ways to get people to take an action is to give them something for free, like a free guide or a free book or a free something. And so, like, why would I give them all this information otherwise? And so the action could be to fill out, like this stuff. And this would allow them to have my information in their database, and this is an action. And then they would send me a free guide, in this case. I don't really want their free guide, so I won't fill it out. So the first thing is called CPI, which is cost per impression. That is what the advertiser pays for impressions. The next is called CPC, which is cost per click, which is what the advertiser can pay for clicks. And the next thing is CPA, which is cost per action, which is what the advertiser might pay for people taking action on the ads. And then you can take it further. Let's say that this action was to download an app. The next thing can be how many people download. And then the next thing can be how many people install it. And the next thing can be how many people use it. So things like that. So you can keep going. But it's important to be able to track the cost per click cost. So typically impressions can be so many that you don't, if you're an advertiser, you don't pay by individual impressions. You pay by the 1,000 impressions at a time. And so that's called a CPM, cost per million. Well, it's really 1,000. It's not cost per million, and that's for 1,000, not for million. CPM, CPC. So it's what I just explained. I don't know if this is just a bunch of text explaining the same thing. Images are usually a little bit more helpful. Yeah. So it's important to know CPA may also be cost per acquisition instead of cost per action. Depends on who's the marketer and how they're using it. So that was a lot of terms. If you do actual marketing, you will run into these, and so that's why I want you guys to at least be aware. Okay. So just to be a little bit clear, so like typical cost per click might be something like $1 to $4, maybe $5, could be more. There's also one more term called click-through rate. So that is how many, basically how many people actually see the impression versus how many click through. So if you showed 1,000 people an ad and then 100 of them click through, that would be a 10% click-through rate. So there is that. Any questions on this part? Because I went through pretty quickly on this.
Nope.
Okay. So next, let's do. Actually, I'm not sure if you guys can hear this. Is it audible?
No, you have to unshare your screen and then reshare it, but you have to click the option that says share system audio.
So I have to do stop share?
Yeah, and then you have to reshare, but then this thing should pop up right before you share. And there should be an option at the bottom that
Advanced
says
sharing options.
share system audio somewhere in there or something like that.
Share computer sound.
Yeah.
Sugarland, Texas, 77478.
You got horses?
Yes, sir, I do.
What's the zip code again? I missed it.
77478.
Okay, good. Do you have any concerns about doing this?
No, man, my concern was the money, but I mean, the way you explained it to me, it makes sense.
Okay. Before I play this, so far we've been talking about marketing, and that was more like how do we market, who's the customer, and this what you're gonna see in the video is sales. So this is an actual salesperson who is trying to sell a sales training to businesses. And so what you're about to see is this guy is going to make call a business and try to sell his program to the business. So just so you guys have context as to what's going on.
See where we're at, see if things change.
Let me have that call.
Oh,
Wow, really?
This is Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
Grant Cardone here. How you doing?
This ain't Grant Cardone.
More familiar
Yes, this
with
is.
Grant Cardone, if he sees a sales
See, Grant Cardone?
This is Grant Cardone, sir.
or a certain type of
Oh, my
fund,
God.
then you
Grant
can
Cardone,
also log
the
on,
Grant
just
Cardone.
send it right here, put your hand. Why are you still on your lawsuit?
Well,
Hey.
I never thought I'd be talking to you on the phone. I'm always talking to your
Yeah,
people.
on average, they're five.
Well,
How many people working for you there, bro?
You know what? You're talking to me right now. Hey, and the reason I'm jumping on this call, Carlos, is because I heard Jared say something about he's going to call you back next month.
There's literally 300 videos.
I need some time to look at this thing, man. I want to finish out my month.
Okay, but let me ask you something. Why did you look at it in the first place?
Well, I have an interest in training, man. I have an interest in getting my people trained.
And why do you have an interest in getting your people trained?
It's $1,000 if you
Well,
want to have
obviously, the better trainer they are, the more revenue it is, the less expensive.
Okay, so what's important to you? What problem are you trying to solve?
In that, we're going to include a ticket for
Well, I want to get them to be able to handle all the situations that they encounter, man. I want to get my green teas better trained. I want to get my veterans excited again. I'm trying to survive like anybody, man. I'm trying to expand my
Good.
business.
And Carlos, excuse me, but do you feel like you're missing opportunities right now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, we all do.
Good. So you didn't call Jared, you didn't show interest in our product because you wanted to save money. You called Jared because you want to increase your income by your revenue by having your people better handle situations, get your veterans experience, and get your newer salespeople trained.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, but I just don't want to spend as much on your product as what he's asking, too. I mean, can't you guys do better than that? $1,500 a month's pretty high, man.
Well, the $1,500 a month, that's your objection, is the cost? See, he's moved already.
Well, that's one of the objections, sure. $1,500 a month, I just kind of wrap my arms around that.
Yeah, well, let me explain to you that it's not $1,500 a month, it's $36,000. Plus the $4,000 startup fee, which means it's $40,000. I need you to think about a $40,000 decision, not a $1,500 a month decision. You're going to be on this program 2 years, not 1 month. If you're not going to be on it 2 years, you need to tell me that up front, because then we don't need to do it. It won't work anyway. Let me ask you a question, Carlos.
I will. As soon as he's
When's the
done,
last time your company spent $40,000?
Thank you.
We probably spend almost that a month on advertising.
Have you ever had it not work?
Well, you can't ever really put a finger on it, but I'm sure, it's working somehow. We want to keep spending the money.
Right. So look, you're going to spend $40,000 to train your people over 2 years, to handle every opportunity that comes to you, and you spend $480,000 in the same period of time on advertising. This represents basically 8% of your ad budget. Do you want to train your people? Do you want them motivated? If so, if you're going to do this sooner or later, I'm going to suggest, and that's why I'm getting on the call, take time out of the equation and let's do this. The reason I got on the call was to assure you that I'm here to support you and help you. Look, Carlos,
Tell him to fax me a contract. Jesus Christ.
Carlos, I appreciate your business.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, and also, hey,
I can't believe I got a chance to talk to you. That was dynamite, man.
Hey, let me-
I appreciate you getting on the call.
well, that's what everybody should be doing right now to make businesses work so they survive and prosper. What's your home address? I want to send you something personal for me.
935 Eldridge, Sugar Land, Texas, 77478.
You got horses?
Yes, sir, I do.
What's the zip code again? I missed it.
77478.
Okay, good. Do you have any concerns about doing this?
No, man, my concern was the money, but I mean, the way you explained it to me, it makes sense, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
Would there be
it's
any
one of these places.
Would there be any reason you would change your mind?
No, man, I'm not going to change my mind. Let's go for it.
I'm
Listen, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
I'm sending it to you right now. Thank you so much for your business, and look for your mailbox. Look in your mailbox for something special.
Mary.
Thank you, man. Great talking to you.
Okay,
Greg.
thank you. So, you see, what we do is, look, it's not always going to work like that, but if the executive drops in, brings in the altitude, brings in the enthusiasm, even if I would have failed, I restore my sales department. They see that I'm watching. They see that it's happening. Now they see success. That's what I want to come to the UK and do, to wake the
Okay. So you guys can hear me again, right?
Yes, we can hear you, and it was a very good video to watch.
Yeah. So basically, what we were talking about so far was marketing, and this is what sales might look like, where you're actually on the call, you make the sale, you get the money, you handle objections. So the main thing in sales is really understanding what might be the objection for the customer to do business with you, and then to go ahead and handle the objection and make the sale. So sales can be frustrating because there can also be a lot of rejection. But if you do it right, if you have the right value proposition for your customer, if he understands why he should take it, if it's worth it to him, then you will do well. So I encourage you guys. I mean, if you go to YouTube and look for salespeople, sales calls, sales tips, you'll find a lot of material that can help you improve your sales. And people are selling always, right? Even when you go to investors, in a way, you're selling. You're selling your business and saying, "I want money for my business." In this case, he's selling sales training program to a customer. So to do well with sales, obviously, you have to do your marketing homework. You have to be priced correctly. You have to know what your customer segments are, and things like that. So I think we went over quite a lot of material. We're nearing the end of our time for today. So if you guys have any questions about any of the stuff we talked about, or concerns, or want to know something more, just maybe we can do that quickly.
I don't have any question, but I enjoyed the session and there was a lot of things to learn and there were too much good terms and vocabulary to learn. Thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of the vocabulary is also in the book. If you guys go back and you want to review certain things, read certain things. So today we talked about Price Thermometer, TALC, which was technology adoption lifecycle. We talked about marketing, CPA, CPM, these things, funnels. We saw what sales looks like. So we talked about DDART, we talked about SWOT analysis. So we talked about a lot of these things. We talked about the different types of investors. Who wants to remind me what is venture capital versus angel investor? And how would you find them?
I'm guessing angel investors are individuals with very high net worth, and venture capitals are companies.
Yep. Okay. So venture capitals are companies, and their main guys are the partners. So the partners are managing, and they're managing partners who manage the fund. Okay, I think that's a lot for you guys to absorb. I will see you next time. We'll start with the financial section next time. So today was marketing. All right, bye guys.
Bye everyone.
If you guys have
Bye.
any concerns,
Bye.
just shoot me a mail.